everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Cinematic Wasteland here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And Luke and Adam and I are here to take you through the history of cinema. And it is 1923. We're making our way through the 1920s, those roaring 20s, almost to the point where we have sound, but we're not quite there yet. But Luke, Adam, thank you both so much, as always, for joining me each month for this little cinematic history journey.
As always, happy to be here.
Yeah, ditto. Thanks for allowing me to be here after I annoy the shit out of you two in the Slack chats.
Those are behind the scenes things, and you won't hear any of the dirt. Good luck, people.
Yes, everything is totally fine. Okay, everything is
I'm
so
just
fine.
I'm a whinging palm, as they say.
But we usually start the show off with some film history. Soon, we're actually in a couple episodes will be the Oscars, so we'll be
Yes.
able to talk a little bit about that. And I have to do more research when they actually had reliable box office numbers. But let's get started. In 1923, the Warner Brothers film distribution and production business was incorporated and called Warner Brothers Pictures Inc., one of the first large film studios. They released the six-reel comedy drama The Gold Diggers, now a lost film. Warner Brothers officially began and, are still doing stupid shit.
And they just turned
101 years
100.
later.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Warner Brothers pisses people off every other day at this point. Next up, at the Rivoli Theater in New York, Lee DeForest demonstrated a sound-on-film method for recording sound on the edge of the film strip called phonofilm. He projected a series of short musical films featuring vaudeville performers. It would become the industry standard.
Nice. So we're finally here.
They got that sound. We're almost there. And then we'll find out who has really scratchy, high-pitched voices and who won't make it in the sound era. The Eastman Kodak Company introduced their new and less expensive film gauge format, 16 millimeter, in the United States. It was originally designed for amateurs and home users and was offered as a package deal for $335. A camera, projector, tripod, screen, and splicer. However, due to its popularity and versatility for many uses, it soon became a professional format.
Yeah,
right.
Got that 16 millimeter film. I just rewatched Sing Sing yesterday.
And I still haven't seen it.
No,
beautifully shot in some 16 millimeter film.
I hear great things about it.
Interesting.
You could feel that it was shot on film too, and it's just like, ooh, it doesn't look all sheeny. Next up, we have one of the highest grossing films of the year was Paramount and James Cruise's feature-length Western, The Covered Wagon. It was an expensive effort, which cost $800,000, yet brought in $4 million at the box office. The film was the historical drama of a wagon train in the mid-1800s, moving westward, encountering harsh environmental and weather conditions, a river crossing, and prairie fire. And of course, hostile Indians. Hollywood was encouraged to produce many more Westerns in subsequent years. Well, them Westerns became bankable.
Yes.
And then John Ford had a career.
Yeehaw.
And John Wayne. It's so crazy to think about. It's like, this made a shit ton of money, $4 million. As I was just looking at the box office from this weekend.
Yep.
Somehow Mufasa made 40% more money its second weekend than it did its first weekend.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Even after getting canned.
It's up to $221 million worldwide as we're reporting this. So
it's chugging along. Spare change nowadays. Like, who cares? 220.
Well, that movie costs like $250 million. So it hasn't even made it's not profitable yet. Now we got handsome 31-year-old silent era actor Wallace Reed has been appearing on average over a 7-year period in as many as one feature film every 7 weeks when he died of
Jesus.
influenza and a weakened immune system. I wonder why his immune system was weakened.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
real cause of death was an overdose due to his alcoholism and severe drug addiction to morphine, allegedly supplied by the studio to keep him working following a train wreck back injury. This was one of the many scandals that would rock Hollywood and eventually lead to attempts to clamp down and prompt the implementation of motion picture production code Hays Code in the early 1930s. Well, none of that's surprising when you're
Mm.
pushing out a feature film every 7 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
he,
bananas.
yeah, so he was like if you were to combine Samuel L. Jackson, Willem Dafoe, and Danny Trejo all at once. Like, holy shit.
Well,
Yeah,
obviously it did
that's
not
hectic.
work out for this young man.
Poor dude.
Um, that's a vicious combo. Influenza, low immune
Mm.
system, alcoholism, morphine addiction.
Yep.
What a combo.
Mm.
Now we got Harold Lloyd, the bookish, horn-rimmed glasses, straw hat wearing comedian and everyman hero. That was getting like a Nature Boy Ric Flair entrance there.
Mm-hmm.
How many many descriptors? Nicknamed the king of daredevil comedy, thrilled audiences with his death-defying stunts in Safety Last. The successful film is most remembered for its thrilling, hair-raising climax, a reckless safety last humorous stunt on the side of a 12-story skyscraper above busy city streets. The scary sequence was deliberately shot with some camera trickery to include
Mm-hmm.
deceptive views of perilous drop behind him. Due to increasingly dangerous nature of film stunts, Hollywood took the first official safety precautions in film history to protect their star Harold Lloyd as he dangled from a clock on the side of a skyscraper with the use of safety nets and harnesses. So I'm pretty sure everybody has probably seen that shot
I've
Mhm.
of
seen the
him hanging
safety.
on.
I've seen the movie
Mm.
even. Yes.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's quite an iconic moment. And
Mm-hmm.
also, eventually you were going to have to be like, well, we can't just have people like yeeting themselves off the side of buildings and stuff. Somebody's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, stun people need some uh, work support as well. So glad to see they actually threw some nets and harnesses in there.
Mm-hmm.
Would not be my thing. I would not be hanging off the side of a building for a stunt. No, thank you.
Tom
Yeah.
Cruise took
Nowadays,
his spot.
yes, Tom Cruise is the only one because everybody else is just hanging on bungees and you
Mm.
know in front of green screens. Now we have director Cecil B. DeMille's first version of the biblical epic, The Ten Commandments, was the most expensive film ever made and featured the largest set ever constructed in movie history to that time. The city of the pharaohs gates 120 feet tall and 700 feet wide, and four massive 35-foot tall Egyptian statues weighing 1 million pounds. And the big
Mm.
budget film was made. The director ordered the set in San Luis Obispo County, California, bulldozed and buried. 60 years later, archaeologists uncovered the part of the
What?
set of a location known as Guadalupe Nipomo Sand Dunes. DeMille remade his silent epic in 1956.
I was
So,
just gonna ask.
Mm.
He remade his own movie like 40 years later.
hmm,
Respect. Okay.
which my favorite tidbit of this is they buried the set, and then it was like archaeologists are like, well, we did it
Yeah.
in Egypt once. Time to do
Yeah.
it again in California.
And it's
That's a
his.
fascinating thing. Sorry.
No.
You
Only
go.
go
No.
on.
I was just going to say, it's a fascinating thing to think of a director remaking one of their films from their early days. Like, what do you reckon Spielberg would remake now if he had a chance? What would he remake? Sugarland Express, 1941. Like, it's just interesting to see what a.
I feel like nowadays guys like Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola, they wouldn't touch their earlier work because
No.
it just reflects, not only reflects the time, but also they had pretty much all the tools. Like they don't want to become a George Lucas, where like, oh, you know what this show
Mm,
needs? More CGI characters on a screen.
mm.
And whereas like it kind of makes sense, you know, if you make a movie in 1923 and it's an epic, and then this is, I was gonna say this, the remake, I still haven't seen. I
Mm.
haven't seen this one. I haven't seen remake. But I know this was his last movie, Cecil's B. DeMille's last movie,
Mm.
which is kind of fascinating. So I feel like
Do
it
you
makes sense to, you know, make it in 60s with like, you know, color,
with sound and
sound,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the
And
like, you know,
Charlton
tinkering.
Heston,
Yes.
Mm. But
which
just
Shane,
be
someone's favorite actor?
uh,
I watched the Ten Commandments, the 56 version, every Easter growing
Mm.
up because they always played it on television the Saturday before Easter. And
uh,
I would sit there with my grandparents for like 5 hours with commercials and watch the Ten Commandments, which is a big ass set, and that's heavy.
Mm.
Holy
yeah,
crap. You
yeah,
can't
many
even get people to make a
pounds.
set anymore. It's sad.
No, because that
It's
costs
all
money,
computer.
Shane. Like, you know, what are you talking about?
Not like the CGI doesn't cost money too.
But
It's
Oh,
just different.
fraction.
But DeMille's epic The Ten Commandments was also the first film to portray a false protagonist. For example, Moses was presented as the main character in the film's first third, a prologue about Exodus from Egypt, but then major shift occurred, moving away from the biblical story to a modern story set in the roaring 20s that contrasted the lives of two brothers, John and Danny McTavish. What?
I was gonna say, what? What? Okay.
Nobody wanted that. Like, where's Moses? That's why when he redid it in the 50s, it's just like all Moses.
You
And
mean that guy?
you get Charlton Heston with a big ass fake beard
Hmm.
by the end as he smites
yeah.
down off the side of the mountain with the Ten Commandments. Um, in the film, first film version of Victor Hugo's novel, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Lon Chaney was transformed into the deformed hunchback bell ringer for the silent film with extensive, convincing makeup, a wig, puffy cheeks, false teeth, fake eye, etc.
Mm.
You know, back when the hunchback was kind of a horror movie monster and
Yep.
not
Mm.
a Disney
Disney.
character that we all love. So there you
Disney,
Yep.
go.
Disney, Disney softened everything. I mean, most of their stuff's based off grim fairy tales. So
Mhm.
if you look at the originals of most of those early
Yep.
animated movies, they're grim, for lack of a
Like
better
Little
word.
Mermaid. Like, you know, we don't even have to
Mm.
go that far. Little Mermaid, like if
Snow
you read
White,
the
even.
original story, like she
Mm.
kills herself. And it's quite brutal. Like, you know, and there are parts of
Yeah.
the fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen that are quite brutal. And
Isn't
like,
Well,
Pinocchio
one
pretty dark as well?
oh yeah, they are. They are super dark,
Yeah.
some of them.
Mm.
one thing I will give to Disney, nothing is darker in Victor Hugo's novel as Hellfire. That Frollo sings because that song goes hard.
Hmm.
Mm,
It's just like that's a villain song right there.
yep.
It's like out of nowhere, you just have Catholic Guilt, the song in this children's movie, singing about being tempted by the gypsy woman and how I'm
Mm.
gonna how the devil's gonna sear my flesh and bones. It's just like holy shit.
But it's not his fault. Do you see how well
Stuff.
they animate them? Like it's not their, you know, it's not his fault.
It's not his fault. I'm
Yeah.
not to blame. It's a gypsy girl, the one who sets his flame. Yes, I know the whole entire song Hellfire, which I will not sing right now. We have a couple more tidbits here before we get into our film Adam's Rib. The Hollywood sign, originally advertising and spelling out Hollywood Land, was built above town in 1923 for $21,000 by a real estate developer. It was not an advertisement to promote the major film studios, but was actually put up above the Hollywood Hills to advertise a real estate local real estate development in nearby Beechwood Canyon and was only supposed to be installed for 18 months. The sign lost its suffix land in 1949 when the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce began a contract with the city of LA Parks Department to repair and rebuild the sign.
There's a great history behind that sign. They should make a movie behind the Hollywood sign because that would be fascinating. At least there probably is a documentary about it, honestly, but an actual movie behind, because I think I read once, sorry to tangent, but I think I read once where the reason Hollywood became Hollywood is because the first person to really buy land there and to settle in that area was a filmmaker. Like, he traveled from the East Coast, so he started making films locally, and that's how Hollywood became Hollywood. I'm 90% sure that's accurate. It was a long time ago when I read that.
Mhm.
But
My first
around
question
that.
is, who would you cast as the Hollywood sign?
The Rock, because he can just sit and
I was gonna say John Cena.
yeah. I know John Cena's. Yeah, no. Okay. John Cena can be wood and
Or they can
The
tag
Rock can
team.
be
They
Holly.
can team tag both of them.
Yeah. That's
But they wouldn't be able to see it.
That's correct.
If it was John Cena, you wouldn't be able to see the sign.
it.
But fun fact, John Cena is going on a year-long 2025 retirement tour for WWE this year, just in
Oh.
time for them to go to Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah,
How
that Netflix money.
crazy how that works, right? Like such a
Yeah,
coincidence.
Yeah.
It's called
Oh.
That's called alignment right there.
Mm.
I'm gonna make some money. Alrighty, we got
And he's moving
Paramount
to
Pictures.
Texas.
I'm surprised WWE's headquarters is still in and in Stamford, Connecticut. Sure, they get a lot of taxes there in that really
Mm-hmm.
rich, wealthy little section of
Yeah.
the Northeast. Paramount Pictures silent comedy Hollywood by director James Cruz, a lost film, starred Hope Drawn in her film debut and solo film appearance as aspiring actress Angela Whitaker, who ventured to Hollywood due to cameos by dozens of silent film era stars Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, Charlie Chaplin, Cecil B. DeMille, Anna Q. Nilsson, Richard Arlen, Noah Berry, William Boyd, Babe Daniels, Douglas Fairbanks, Ben Turpin, Tim Holtz, Zazu Pitts, Mary Astor, Mary and Jack Pickford, Alan Hale, William S. Hart, Pola Negri, Will Rogers, Sid Groman, and Gloria Swanson. It was necessary to film the main characters' roles with unknown performers.
Damn. That's like who's who from like silent era.
Yeah.
Who got left out? That's a better question. It's like, what did they do to not get cast in this movie?
Yeah, imagine.
And then we won't see it because it is a lost film.
It must have been the
Finally,
Oppenheimer of the day.
yes, kind of, or a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah. Asteroid City.
Yeah, basically. Now, finally, the Fleischer brothers, Dave and Max, produced the first feature-length animation and documentary titled The Einstein Theory of Relativity.
Ooh.
I feel like one day I should really go all in. Do either of you know of Philomena Kunk?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I love Kunk. She's got a new series coming.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say there's a new one coming out
Yep.
next
Yeah.
My
next
wife
year.
and I just listened to her book, The World According to Kunk,
Right.
the audiobook version, which
Oh,
was
no.
fantastic because it's her reading it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like one of these days I should write a script to these history lessons and go full punk and just make a bunch of jokes along the way. But that is gimmick infringement, and I would never want to do that to Philomena Kunk. So there you go. But that is a history lesson from 1923. And let's jump in to our film Adam's Rib from 1923, obviously. Directed by Cecil B. DeMille. It was written by Jeannie McPherson. For the dinosaurs represented in the film, we have Ray S. Bessler, who acted as a technical advisor. So, start with you, Luke. What were your general thoughts on Adam's Rib?
I kind of liked it. Like, it's not the greatest of movies, and it definitely has some pacing issues here and there. But I thought it actually, like, the story was more complex than I thought it would have been. And, it starts questionably as far as, like, uh, women's agendas and all that, but actually has some decent points especially for the era. So I kind of liked it.
Ready? How about you, Adam? How was your rib?
Um, all pretty much. Well, it's still intact, but pretty much word for word what Luke said.
Oh,
Yeah, I liked it. Again, the characters were more complex than I thought. It was actually quite an engaging story. It did have pacing issues. There were some parts that could have been. It didn't need to be 105 minutes long. It probably could have been 85, maybe 90. But yeah, like the characters were interesting. It was like Luke said, it was a bit more complex. So there was a bit more toing and froing with the daughter and the wife. There was some really weird relationships going on there, like the
yep,
daughter being in direct competition with her mother to save her parents' marriage, basically because the mum wanted to shag about. Um, it was my biggest gripe with it is not a fault of the movie, but I don't know if there was multiple versions of it out there, but the image quality wasn't real good on the version I watched on YouTube. It was
yeah.
it was kind of worse than a VHS to be honest. But otherwise, no, I'm surprisingly surprised how much I liked it.
hmm
I think I'm probably the lowest out of the three of us. It was fine. I thought it was solid. I didn't love it. Um, I definitely felt the pacing
hmm
with this one. I was pretty impressed by like the costuming, the production design and stuff like that. Like
hmm
obviously nobody's going to question Cecil B. DeMille going all out for a film, especially when he released the 10 Commandments in the same year and made £1,000,000 freaking walls and shit for that
Yep.
in terms of like production design and stuff like that. And like this definitely felt like one of those kinds of dramas where it's I thought the performances were good. I thought the story wise, it's like how to put this. It's definitely like rich people problems.
Oh, 100%.
And it's just like this is
Definitely.
like that definitely like well, first world problems the movie kind of thing.
Yes.
And but like it is interesting like the daughter Matilda um trying to get all up in her parents' business and trying to manipulate the situation and stuff like that. I
hmm
thought it was an interesting enough story. There's definitely times where I'm like, not 100% interested in what's going on screen right now. But
Yeah.
it's because I've seen a few Cecil B. DeMille films. Obviously, I've seen like the Ten Commandments. But like this one definitely felt like it was probably one of the more like, well, we're cranking out some movies. And we're gonna crank this one out and get this out there. Because we have actors putting out movies one every 7 weeks. We gotta make some.
I
I mean, it
watched a
definitely feels. Yeah, want to go?
no, sorry, Luke, you definitely go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I was just gonna say, like, it definitely feels like this might have been shot, like, in between, like, him working on Ten Commandments. Like, oh, we cannot shoot the Ten Commandments because we need to build this giant set. Okay, let me do this movie, for, in those 2 weeks before this set gets built. It kind of feels like, definitely very, like, low budget, low scale, even for the time, because it's only a couple of locations. Apparently, it
Mm.
lost money. Like, apparently, this movie did
Ah,
not succeed either critically or like in box office. So, like, this wasn't his most successful movie by any means. But
no.
no, like for what it is, and for
Yeah.
especially for the time, I thought it was more than solid.
I was just going to say I'm
hmm
not sure if you guys have seen there's a 1949 film by George Cukor called Adam's Rib as well. And I thought that might have been a remake of this, but it's not at all. Like it's not
Mhm.
even close. The only similar theme is the women. I'll say women's power for lack of a better
Mhm.
phrase, but that's kind of what both of those are about. But completely different movies. I just kind of wanted to mention that there was another film called Adam's Rib worth watching.
Yep.
Well, actually, there's a few. There's one in 1990 as well. But
And then apparently it's supposed to be great. That 49 version is supposed to be pretty good.
it's
I haven't seen it.
I've I've given it a 4 stars. It's yeah, I really
Oh,
liked it. It's
nice.
it's quite good. I only watched it. When did I watch it? It was this year I saw it. So yeah,
Okay. I definitely need
in
to check it
July.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I mean, I watched it because actors Spencer Tracy and Catherine Hepburn.
I mean,
and George
yeah.
Cukor. I love George Cukor as well. Like he's
Yes.
one of the great directors from back then. So 100% worth a
Mhm.
watch. Yeah.
Hard to go wrong with that combo of Spencer
Yeah.
Tracy
Yeah.
and Catherine Hepburn.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're both at each other too because they're a married couple. They're both lawyers and they both have a well, no, this is not the movie we're supposed to be talking about, but a woman is accused of murdering her husband, and Catherine Hepburn defends her while Spencer Tracy prosecutes her because he's the DA. So they go against each
Oh.
other. So it's very much believe women or don't believe this woman or that type of thing. So yeah, it's really, really good, and it's
Uh,
funny as well. And there's conflict between them. Yeah, it's good.
I'm definitely even more intrigued now to watch that movie as well. Like the Dead
Mm,
Adam's Rip. Like, ooh, okay.
mm.
No, but as far as this movie goes, so am I the only one who was not expecting the like the jump into prehistoric times, like the 20
Ah,
minute
that took me out of it. Yeah, it was.
like
There was.
thematically I understood why it's there, right?
Mm,
Like it kind of makes sense and it underlines the final point how even from the beginning of time women had to fight for themselves and then like
yeah,
sometimes men did bad things to them despite there was none of their faults. Like, you know, I thematically it makes sense. It just like was a very weird jump for me. Just like all of a sudden you see the prehistoric text on like a
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
piece of like stone. And I'm like,
different font.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It was. I think it was that story was also kind of to pull the wool over her dad's eyes a little bit too, wasn't it? To make him believe that she was after the Jeremy, the king of Morania. It's Morania, right?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not Romania, it's Morania.
Morania.
It's you know,
Yeah.
it's not Romania. It's
With
Morania because we are clever. We swapping M and R, you know, like we're
yes,
so good. We're
it's
clever. Twist.
It's like Balania. Couldn't think of anything
It's
different.
like when you copy my homework, just make sure that you shake it up a little bit,
Yeah,
and
Yes, correct.
they just change the
yeah,
name.
yeah.
It's like
Uh-huh.
I I like sitting watching this. I'm just like, what the shit
Yeah.
is this?
What just
Yeah.
happened?
Mm.
And like, yes, I do get it, and
Hmm.
I do appreciate filmmakers when they make some bold choices and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
But like, does this really need to be in this movie?
Like it kind of
It's
like I feel like if it had to I feel like it had to be there, but maybe don't spend like what was it 15-20 minutes here, but maybe like 5 we get this like we get the point
it
because it
was
was
very
only there
long.
to kind of illustrate the point of the daughter because you know daughter was like how do you know the woman was at fault, maybe maybe her story is similar to mine, and boom we go to prehistoric times, right? So I feel like if
Yeah.
maybe this could have been like shortened to just like 5 minutes, the bare bones where we see that thematically, like you know, oh yeah, this has been happening since beginning of time, you know, and
See,
we
and then this
go
movie would have
back.
been 90 minutes.
Correct, yeah, and
Is it a little bit like justifying the budget because they had to build these sets for this bit, so we're going to make use of it? I mean, there's so many reasons why they
it
could have
might
just
be.
because I agree, like it did not need to be that long. It really took me out of the film. It was very distracting, but
Hmm.
Which
I
yeah, I
studio
mean, they've got
made
to go. Well, we're
this?
going to build these sets. It's got to be on screen for longer than 5 minutes. Like I don't know, just
I
Like,
speculation.
I'm trying to figure out which studio it is. I'm just imagining like one of those big studio guys with a cigar. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we have this dinosaur picture going on over here, and we
yep.
need somebody to use this set for the next
yeah.
week. It's just
It's
like
probably
it's like Cecil. put this in your movie.
Yeah,
It's just like,
probably. Yeah.
it's just like, but my movie's about like rich people problems. It's just like, well, find a way to have some of those cavemen in it.
That's what
It's
we've got
just like,
writers for. That's what we have writers for. Make them do something. Yeah.
that's exactly what this felt like. Like, I get it. And to be fair, yes, do you build all this stuff up for like 5 minutes of screen time? But like, I don't
Mm.
know. Or you couldn't have had it. You could have just had her tell a quick little story or
Yeah.
something. Like,
Yeah.
that was wild. I'm like, did I hit a button on my YouTube and switch videos by accident? Like, it was that jarring at
Yes.
that point. I'm just
Yes.
like, wait a minute. This is just such a strange film in terms of that context. And then the rest of it's just like, well, rich girl has nothing better to do with her time, so she gets involved in her parents' marriage. But
But we also need to mention he was the king. The wife wasn't
Yes.
just like, interested in somebody. Like she didn't know this, but then like we learn he's not only like, handsome fella, he's a king of Morania who has
Yeah.
survived the
Morania.
revolution. And the bloodless revolution, by the way, he just like, he just walks out like, okay, if you don't want me to be the king, we can be
Yeah.
parliamentary republic. I'm out.
I'm going to a
And
different country.
I'm like, is this the first ever like monarchy that turned to republic without any blood? Okay, cool. That's a great
Mm.
result for that guy. Cool, cool,
I
King
didn't know this
Yaromir.
was a fantasy.
Yaromir, by the way, like that's his typical Slavic name, like Mr. Yaromir. I'm like, all right, Morania, cool.
Well, it definitely had some of its moments, and I could definitely say that, like, you could tell this is like a Cecil B. DeMille film. He went
Yeah.
all out
hmm
production wise
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it has an interesting concept to it. It's
hmm
just like, what if my mom was trying to bed a king and
Yep.
like ditch my
Yeah.
dad? What would I do?
Yeah.
So
She was a horny old woman. There's a line in it where she says to it, well, she doesn't say it, it's written on a card, but
Yeah.
you'll need romance more in your when you're my age than what you do now or something. So basically saying your dad's never here, he's off buying and selling wheat, and I'm just horny and he pays me no
goddamn weak.
attention. Yeah, it's basically like, and then obviously at the end they get together because they go on another honeymoon or something, but
hmm
because he's learned his lesson, and yeah, it's really it's stuff you'd see in a modern, like it's a plot line you'd see in modern,
A lot.
I
Yeah.
guess rom-coms or something. Yeah.
hmm
So that kind of fascinated me, to be honest.
And I like the ending. Like I like how it leaned more. Oh, it's about the trust. So like how the daughter.
Yeah.
I don't know what was supposed to be in that letter. Like like I
Oh,
didn't
that was
understood
annoyed
the
me.
like. Oh, you can open it. This will prove my innocence entirely without shadow of a doubt. But
But
if you
burn
open it, you'll break my
it.
heart. And the
Yeah,
dude is
yeah,
like looks at her, looks at the letter, looks at her. Okay, I'm opening it.
yeah.
And then
But he
she stops
burnt
him
it though, didn't
again.
he?
No, no,
Didn't
no,
he burn
no.
it?
She stops him again. And then,
Ah,
can you not trust me just for this once? So he tears it apart and puts it in fire, and that's it. And that's how the movie ends. And I'm like, okay.
that's like let me look at your phone, darling. And then she's like, oh,
Oh,
just
yeah.
give me 5 minutes, and goes and deletes all this shit. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
I will say I missed the time where you would have like romance films or just like films with the weirdest setups.
hmm
Like
Mm.
shameless plugs for the Wasteland watch list. I just watched Ball of Fire
Okay.
starring Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. This movie's literally about 8 professors working on an encyclopedia.
Hmm.
And basically one of
Ah,
them falls in love with this very attractive, talented woman.
Okay.
And basically she like moves in for a while. And it's like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves with all these quirky professors working on an encyclopedia. I'm just like, who would come up with shit like this today? They
no, I
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
And
Wouldn't
that,
make it greenlit. Oh, well, Netflix might greenlight it, but
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just like something like Bringing Up Baby. It's a rom-com about them with the freaking jungle cat, and he's a
Yeah,
paleontologist.
Well, and we
He's
have
like,
a paleontologist here. We have a,
yeah.
don't
yeah.
forget that. Like he was
One
studying
of
Tyrannosaurus Rex, you know.
one of my notes is this is the inspiration for bringing up babies because
When
even
I
at the start,
saw
like,
that, because it's
yeah,
a similar scene, even with the, like a heightened
absolutely,
ladder, and I was like,
yeah,
wait, is this where the Bring Up Baby scene came from?
probably,
Because
yeah,
it's not
probably
that
did.
far apart. It's like Bring Up Baby is like
No,
38, 39, isn't it? So like, is that where the
38,
scene
yeah.
came
I
from?
reckon it will. I reckon it would be because even when she starts spinning him around on the ladder,
Yeah.
like in Bring Up Baby, Hepburn's kind of wobbling the ladder, or maybe that
Mm-hmm.
more comes at the end. But even the Cary Grant's character is similar to this guy. Like he's just like I don't want to say a bumbling fool, but he's not like he's just kind of a
He's not the
I don't
sharpest tool
know.
in the shed. Yeah, I think
No, he's
it's
not the sharp. Even as a paleontologist, he's a kind of I don't know. He's put upon. He's I don't know what the right phrase for. There's a phrase for it, but I cannot think of it right now.
mm,
Hmm.
Let's go back to rom-coms and romantic dramas where people had interesting jobs. And
Yeah,
not everybody's just like a Wall Street financial analyst who's just like,
yeah,
oh, he just does it for the money, but he actually has a soul and he's charming. Uh,
yeah.
or like big city lawyer lady goes to small town
oh
for
yeah,
insert
Oh
holiday.
yeah,
Hallmark
yeah,
movies.
yeah,
And Hallmark movies and Netflix movies. uh,
mm,
we had a king, we had like prehistoric cavemen, we had a paleontologist. At least
Mm-hmm.
this, like,
and a
even if it
stock
wasn't the
trader.
most interesting movie, it had interesting things in it. So
Yes,
Yes,
we'll
yes.
go
yeah,
with that. And yes, that guy just loved his wheat more than his wife,
wheat.
apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, $7 million worth. That's a lot of wheat.
That's
In
a lot of
1923
1923.
money, in 1923
Yeah,
money, that would have been like probably like 7 times now that, maybe more.
that's bonkers, isn't it? Yeah,
Yep.
that's
so a lot of
yeah.
wheat.
Mm.
Well, do we have any other thoughts on Adam's ribs?
I just loved how everything worked out, like where where the rich people suddenly are no longer rich, and just all happened, just all of a sudden, all the wheat in the USA freezes. So suddenly he's left
Yeah,
with
yeah,
seven, like, all the like
yeah,
Moranian, not Romanian, Moranian wheat that's useless,
yeah.
quote unquote. And
Yeah,
suddenly he can then sell it, recoup his investment, and be rich again. So I'm just happy that it all worked out for the rich guys. We should,
that's
well, somebody think of the rich guys, please.
that might be where the original Hollywood happy ending had to happen
Of
because it's
course.
very much tacked on all that good stuff that happens
Yeah,
at the end. Like,
they couldn't just stay like poor and happy, like within like a better marriage. No, they had to be
mm,
rich and happy and
he's
have great marriage.
We can't
well, I remember he
undermine the
bought it.
American dream.
Yes.
Wasn't he? What didn't he buy it for $1 a bushel, and then he was selling it for $1.20 a bushel or something anyway at the
Yeah,
end. So
something
he's
like that.
making money. He's making
Mm-hmm.
money. So it's just like, oh, good for you, mate. You
20%
deserve it.
increase.
Oh
Gets his
yeah.
wife back and makes his money. It's just like, yeah,
Buy
He
good
cheap
job.
gets
from
his
Europe and but sell it, more expensive to Americans. Isn't that the dream?
Yeah, that's a Trump tariff. That's the Trump tariff.
See, like this movie is actually way ahead of its time, guys. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. It
it's prophetic.
was
Mhm.
I'd only just recently watched Trading Places. I think I watched it Christmas Day actually, and it was just very similar to that to the orange juice futures.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
frozen orange juice. Oh man, very
Wait,
strange.
wait, wait,
I'll
wait, wait.
bet you $1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait. Just to stop this podcast for a second. Wait, you have never seen Trading Places until
Oh no
like
no no! I'd seen it.
oh
No, I'd
oh
seen it.
okay
I just
okay.
rewatch as
I just would have been
it's
shocked.
a
That's all.
no
That's
no
such a
no.
classic.
I
Yeah, I love
watched that
Trading
all the time
Places.
as a kid,
Yep.
Yeah.
obviously on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Because
Oh
there
yeah. So
was,
you didn't get to see Jamie Kennedy referencing Jamie Lee's boobs.
I did not see Jamie Lee Curtis's breast when I was a child. I remember watching that as an adult for the first time on DVD and just being like,
What?
I'm like, oh.
And see, this would
Not
be the kind
remember
of
this
movie.
part.
This would be the kind of movie that just played in like Saturday afternoon in Czech Republic in its entirety, no censoring. So if you wanted to see boobies, just put it on. Cool.
Well,
This
Mister,
is
I
something.
grew up in Europe
I
and
know, right?
have a
Yeah,
society
yeah, yeah.
that's okay with the human body.
Nudity
Yeah.
in your commercials. You have like Volvo
Yeah.
commercials with vulvas.
I don't know if we have that.
Look at you two living in societies that are okay with the human body.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that it's that prevalent in Australia, to be honest. But, I was just going to say, in a future episode, it's going to be really interesting to see what year the first movie had the first type of nudity in it, like the first boob. What
Well,
movie was the?
I
we've
really
already
hope
passed
our
it.
Have we passed it?
Yeah. I
Oh,
remember
we
like
might have
from
too.
Shane's
I just like, should
lesson.
we go
I
back?
think you're right.
Yeah,
That's
there was
right.
I remember from like Shane's lesson. I can't remember the year, but Shane did mention that there was a
Yeah.
Well,
movie back in
we'll
like
have to have a special moment for the first film that we cover on this show that has breasts in it. So it'll be a very special episode.
But when did it
After
become
Dark.
more common? I know the 80s was pretty much every movie in the 80s had tits in it. But when did it well, I guess the 70s was
I
kind
was
of
gonna
free
say
love.
70s, really.
Yeah.
Because 60s are the last proper quote unquote decade of the kind of like
Yeah.
old Hollywood where it's like most like still
The
like everything
first
is nicely and dreamy and like upbeat, and
Yeah.
70s is like,
Early
hey,
60s,
mm,
It's
still like we're
mm,
all happy and good here in
yes,
Hollywood.
yes,
And then late 60s, it's like the hippies.
this is what life
hippies,
is
baby.
really like. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's 60s, late 60s and 70s was like this is what real life is.
And
Where you
and in like Europe, like a French New Wave and all those like genres started to pop out, and influenced by Americans. So like even like young American directors were like, yeah, we should be able to show boobs or like talk about sex
Yeah.
or talk about drugs or talk about this and this and this, and hence
Mm.
you get the 70s.
Yes, Luke, because those were the only things popping out at that
Mm-hmm.
point.
Popping, yes, 100%.
Totally. But that is another episode here on the Cinematic Wasteland. And you come back for the commentary because you love it. You know you do.
Yeah,
But Luke, Adam, thank you both, as always, for coming on and going through cinematic history with me.
always a blast.
Yeah, it was a blast. Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm.
And thank all of you for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. Have you seen the 1949 Adams Rib with Spencer Tracy, Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn? It is a good flick. You should check it out. Maybe we'll do
It
that for
is.
1949. We'll have to see. But make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network, we have tons of great content, whether it's, movies, television, music, sports, physical media, comics, or, just talking about life with Luke. We have all kinds of wonderful shows, so you should go check them out. And if you like our logo, my buddy Joe does some great work, and you should go check his work out. And he's starting to look into getting the t-shirt business. So
Ooh.
Ooh.
got some new things on the horizon. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Cinematic Wasteland here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network.